So after high school for you, was it to work, to college, or into the service?
Service. Finished my senior year in high school, and I went into the service. It was still a year left in World War II. And I was inducted in Illinois, took my basic training.
Tyler, Texas.
Oh yeah, Tyler, Texas. When I finished there, then I was by troop train up to the Illinois area, got to see my family, or a brief visit, and I left for overseas.
Army, Air Force, Marines,
Army, infantry,
Europe, so you're headed to Europe?
yes.
You're a young kid, what are you thinking when you're on your way to Europe?
Well, as a young kid, you really didn't do much philosophizing, shall we say. You just accepted things as they came. And I thought, well, this is an interesting experience. And it turned out to be just that, interesting experience.
Where did they send you?
Sent me to Europe, landed in France. It was an interesting trip going over, by the way. We loaded on the boat on the East Coast, a troop ship that was partially filled and went up and down the East Coast, filling up at each spot until we finally got all the troops that were going to be transported to Europe. And then we left with a large convoy. So long ago now, I forgot the number of ships, but it was 20 or more ships in the convoy. Of those, I don't know how many, 7 or 8 or so were troop ships and the rest were escort. Because it was still dangerous in the Atlantic Ocean with German submarines. And so our route over to Europe was not direct. You would go east for a while and then switch to north or south. And you followed this zigzag course en route over to Europe. We landed, and I've forgotten now the name of the town where we landed. It's been too long ago. We're given equipment, and our assignment turned out to be guard duty at prisoner of war enclosures. We were either pulling guard duty or else we were processing them, what we call repatriating them. And by that, what it means to me is that the majority of them were shipped by train back over to Germany. We, by the way, had 40,000 German PWs in our camp. Or if they were some type of a war crimes individual, such as former SS troop, they would then be handled locally, and I don't know where they went.
Did you ever talk to any of the prisoners?
Oh yes.
What kind of discussions did you have with them? What did they say to you?
Well, most of the discussions were about family, would you believe? In other words, the war was over. They tried to not have hard feelings toward us, and we tried to not have hard feelings toward them. We were having to live with them in reality, which is a fence between us. They went about their daily business, and they had routines, and they pulled their own kitchen duty and fed themselves and so forth. And they also pulled the KP, or kitchen patrol, for us and fed us. We had I've forgotten the number now, it seems to be like about 250 U.S. GIs who were permanent personnel at this PWE enclosure, prisoner of war enclosure. There were some senior officers who were experts at interviewing and cross-examining. I swear they probably must have been attorneys in civilian life.
But they also were German heritage, so they could.
Yes.
They had the language.
They had the language, they knew when something was being kind of half hidden or not half hidden, they knew the people. And they would conduct the interview, and when it was done and nothing had been determined supposedly. They would excuse them and tell them to go ahead and get up and go ahead and report to the officer outside. And they would get up and start turning around, and they'd say, "Oh, wait a second, I have something for you." And toss them an orange or something. And if they caught that right-handed, they'd say, "Sit down." That's because what was it,
They had a brand on their left, under their left arm
yes.
that indicated they were SS. But these prisoners would claim that they were stirring soup. That's what the brand came, or the wound came. And they would try to eliminate the brand, of course. And obviously, then when they caught the orange in the right hand, it was, "Oh, you're right-handed, not left-handed. You wouldn't be stirring the soup with the left."
Who would put that burn on them for that identification?
They did it to themselves. Try to hide the tattoo.
You know, you said there were 40,000 prisoners. How many of you guys were there?
Oh, somewhere around 2,000 or so, I've forgotten.
Was there ever a time when you guys felt afraid because you were so outnumbered?
No. These were basically common ex-German citizens. And they weren't fanatics who were part of the original Nazi group, shall we say. Well, there were a few of them mixed in, but they hid themselves well.
Yeah.
And that's why we had to have this interrogation going on.
At the war enclosure, you were Post Sergeant Major, and the prisoners treated him very well. He had a hand-carved cigarette case, I guess you'd call it, a tray that was inlaid wood, and that was a gift to him. You didn't tell anything about the actual, while the war was on, you got to the end of the war. Maybe that you don't want to remember the end between.
No, it was pretty routine. We moved from place to place, and we'd move in, kind of surround the town, and then move in and interview everyone in town, all civilians, etc., and looking for ex-German soldiers hiding as civilians there in town. And occasionally we'd find some and interrogate them.
Well, what did the civilians in the towns that you were going through, what did they think of the Americans in there?
They as far as I know, okay. Now,
So this was actually in Germany you're talking
no,
about?
this is in France.
Okay, it was in France.
Northern France, and then we started working our way through. So we were in a number of countries right up in that corner.
Right. Tell us about that, how your conditions were.
Well, we living in pup tents, 2 to a pup tent, and there were some larger tents which were used for officers and meeting rooms and what have you. We would occupy a small town and go through interviewing everyone. When we finished, we'd move out and go to another town.
Actually, in the field where you were in foxholes and so forth and working your way through, and you've told about, that they brought in 2 portable showers and everybody got in line.
Yes, the first shower I'd had for, I don't know, like 6 months or something.
6 weeks, maybe.
We hand bathed. There were no other facilities other than our outdoor latrine. It was when we treat, there was a portable unit they'd bring in, and they brought 2 into our campground. We got in a line, and it was like standing in line at a grocery store or something. And as the line progressed up that way, you end up stripped, period, standing outside. And you had your towel and your clothes in your hand. Your boots were on but loose without socks, so that you could step into the shower area and step out of your boots set your clothing down and get in the shower. And then you had the towel with you, so you get out of the shower, dry off, you get minimum dressed, and leave. There were a bunch of naked guys standing in line to take a shower. We had an air raid. No one moved.
What happened with the air raid?
It went on and went off, and it didn't hit us.
I have one other story that Jim has told, and you'll fill me in. It was during still the war, and he and another soldier were on night duty, and it was a very dark night.
They were all dark. Well, there were no lights. People were war-oriented, and they did not burn lights with shades up or what have you.
Right.
Go ahead.
But you were following a stone fence.
Yes.
You were supposed to be looking for, there was a encampment ahead, and you kept hearing sounds, and of course this is very scary.
Oh, yeah. We kept hearing sound, and of course you're very sensitive. Pitch dark, no moon, no nothing. And your only means of navigation are a stone fence that you're feeling your way along. And you've memorized a map of the area so you know where all the stone fences are. And this would have been in northern France. We kept hearing these funny noises, like maybe some air leaking or something. And we cautiously move on and wait and listen and hear some more. We couldn't figure it out to save us. And finally we did. It was flatulent cattle around us.
So you were a bit relieved.
So were the cattle.
Yeah.